Yep, it's us again.
And somehow the studio still smells like tea and optimism. I'll take that as a good sign.
Always optimism first. Hi, everyone. Honestly, it feels really nice to sit here again. Same chairs, same microphones, same calm feeling.
Yeah, there's something comforting about routine. You come in, put the headphones on, take a breath, and suddenly the world slows down a bit.
Exactly. And maybe that's already part of what we want to talk about today.
I had a feeling you'd say that.
Before we jump in, quick reminder. If you enjoy natural English conversations like this, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps us keep creating for you.
It really does. And we're glad you're here, wherever you're listening from.
So, today's topic sounds simple, but it's actually huge. Daily English conversation. Not textbooks, not exams, just real English every day.
The kind you use when you're tired, distracted, happy, annoyed, all the emotional states that don't appear in grammar books.
Yes, English when you spill coffee on your shirt and say something you didn't plan.
Or when your phone autocorrects a message and you just sigh and think, well, that's my life now.
Teasing, exactly. That's English. I think many learners feel like English is something you perform, like you step on a stage and suddenly you must be perfect.
That's true. People often feel pressure to sound correct instead of sounding human.
And that pressure blocks them. They know the words, but they freeze.
Because conversation isn't about perfection, it's about connection. And connection is messy by nature.
Messy, but alive.
When you speak every day, even a little, English stops being a subject and starts being a tool, something you reach for without thinking.
Like muscle memory?
Exactly. You don't think about each step when you walk. You just walk. Daily conversation builds that same instinct.
I remember when I was learning another language. I could read well, write okay, but speaking felt like standing on thin ice.
That fear is universal, and it usually comes from trying to say the right thing instead of a real thing.
Yes, I wanted perfect sentences, but real people don't talk in perfect sentences.
Thankfully, otherwise conversations would be exhausting.
Imagine ordering coffee like, "Good morning, I would like to request one medium-sized beverage containing milk."
And the barista just stares at you, waiting for you to say, "A latte, please."
That's the moment you realize real English is shorter, warmer, and a bit lazy.
Laziness is underrated in language learning. Efficiency matters.
So, when we say daily English conversation, what does that actually look like?
It looks like small moments, saying, "How's it going?" and really listening, complaining about the weather, making small jokes that don't fully land, and that's okay.
Ah, yes, the jokes that don't land, a very important skill.
Absolutely. You learn tone, timing, and humility all at once.
And you learn expressions people really use, like, "You know what I mean?"
Or, to be honest, which often means, "I'm about to say something real."
Or, "It depends," the most honest answer in any language.
And very British, I might add.
True. Daily conversation teaches culture without lectures.
That's a key point. Language carries habits, values, and history. When you speak daily, you absorb those things naturally.
You start to feel when something sounds right, even if you can't explain why.
That's fluency growing quietly in the background.
And some learners tell me, "I don't have anyone to speak with."
And that's more common than people admit. But conversation doesn't always require another person in the room.
Go on.
Talk to yourself. Describe what you're doing. React to a podcast. Answer questions out loud. It feels strange at first, but it works.
I do that when I cook.
See? A natural talent.
Okay, now we chop the onions. Why am I crying?
Very expressive practice.
But it removes fear. No one is judging you.
Exactly. And once fear drops, words come faster.
Another thing I notice, people wait until they're ready to speak.
That moment never comes. You just start, or you don't.
Yes, you learn by doing, not by waiting.
Daily conversation is about showing up imperfectly, saying, I'll figure it out, instead of staying silent.
And sometimes saying, sorry, what do you mean?
One of the most powerful sentences you can learn.
It invites connection instead of pretending.
There's also something emotional about daily English. It becomes part of your inner voice.
That's true. You start thinking in English sometimes.
And that's when learners panic and say, is this normal?
It is. It just means the language is settling in. What about mistakes? People are terrified of them.
Mistakes are not the enemy. Silence is.
Oof, that's true.
When you speak daily, mistakes lose their power. They become information, not failure.
Like, okay, that didn't work. Next time I try something else.
Exactly. That's learning in real time.
I also think daily conversation builds confidence in unexpected ways.
How so?
You stop translating everything in your head. You trust yourself more.
Trust is huge. Once you trust your instincts, fluency accelerates.
And suddenly you use phrases like, no big deal, without planning.
Or kind of, which means many things and nothing at the same time.
English is funny like that.
There's also tradition in this. Long before apps and courses, people learned languages by talking.
Sitting around tables, sharing stories.
Exactly. We're just continuing that with microphones and headphones.
And maybe that's why this feels cozy.
I think so too.
So if someone listening wants to start today, not tomorrow, what's one simple step?
Speak for 5 minutes, out loud, about anything your day, your plans, your thoughts. And then do it again tomorrow.
5 minutes feels doable.
Consistency beats intensity every time.
And if you miss a day,
You don't quit, you just say, that's okay, and continue.
I like that. I think that's a good place to pause for now.
Yeah, let it sink in a bit.
We'll keep going in the next part. More real examples, more feelings, more everyday English.
Stay with us. This conversation is just getting started.
All right, we're back. Still in the same cozy studio, still with warm tea, still talking like real humans.
Nothing changed, which is kind of the point of daily conversation, isn't it?
Yes, English doesn't suddenly appear only when you're ready. It lives in ordinary moments.
And ordinary moments are repetitive. That's why they work.
I want to talk about something very honest now. Some days you just don't feel like speaking.
That's true in every language, even in your native one.
Exactly. You're tired, your brain feels slow, words feel heavy.
And that's actually the best time to practice.
That sounds cruel.
Maybe a little, but those are the moments when you learn how English feels when it's not polished.
Like saying, I'm kinda tired today, instead of a perfect sentence.
Or I don't really feel like it, which is very human English.
Daily conversation teaches emotional language, not just functional language.
And emotions are what people actually connect through.
I notice learners often know how to talk about big topics, but not small ones.
Ah, yes, they can discuss global warming, but not how their morning went.
Exactly.
Daily English is built on small talk, and small talk isn't small, it's social glue.
Saying things like, how's it going? Or, not bad, actually.
Or same as usual, which carries a whole mood.
Or, I can't complain, even when you absolutely could.
A very polite lie.
English has many polite lies.
It does, and learning them helps you sound natural, not fake.
Another thing, daily conversation teaches rhythm.
Explain that.
When to pause, when to interrupt gently, when to just say, yeah, and let the other person continue.
Those little sounds, uh-huh, right, mm-hmm, they're not taught, but they're essential.
And silence, too.
Yes, silence isn't failure. Sometimes it's thinking. Sometimes it's comfort.
I love that English allows space.
All good conversations do.
What about accents? People worry so much about sounding native.
I'll be very direct. You don't need to sound native. You need to sound clear and confident.
Confidence is louder than accent.
Exactly. And daily conversation builds that confidence naturally.
When you speak often, you stop apologizing for your English.
You stop starting sentences with sorry for my English.
Yes, that sentence needs to retire.
Completely.
There's also joy in daily English.
Joy?
Yes, the moment when a joke works, or you understand sarcasm, or you reply fast without thinking.
Those moments are addictive.
They make you want more.
I've seen learners change as people when they start speaking daily.
In what way?
They become braver, more expressive, less afraid of being misunderstood.
Language gives permission to exist differently.
That's beautifully said.
I surprise myself sometimes. I say something in English and think, wow, that sounded confident.
And then you remember a time when ordering food felt stressful.
Yes, perspective helps. What's a realistic expectation for learners listening right now?
Progress will be uneven. Some days you'll feel fluent. Some days you'll feel stuck. That's normal.
Language growth isn't a straight line,
Exactly. It's more like waves.
and daily conversation smooths those waves over time.
Nicely put.
I also want to say it's okay to borrow language.
Borrow?
Expressions you hear and like, expressions that feel right. You don't need to invent everything.
Native speakers do that constantly.
Like when you hear someone say, at the end of the day, and suddenly you say it too.
A classic.
Or, I see what you mean.
Very useful, very polite, very human.
Daily English also teaches listening.
Speaking and listening grow together. You can't separate them.
You start catching emotions, not just words.
Tone, hesitation, humor, all of that lives between words.
Sometimes I understand someone even when I don't understand every word.
That's real comprehension.
And it comes from exposure, not memorization.
Daily exposure, little by little.
If you're listening and thinking, my English is too simple, let me tell you something.
Simple English is powerful English.
Yes, clear beats complex every time. We should pause again here. Let this part breathe.
Good idea.
In the final part, we'll slow down even more, talk about habits, identity, and how English becomes part of your life.
Stay with us. We're almost there.
And here we are again. Same voices, same calm rhythm, but maybe a slightly different feeling now.
Yeah, like when a conversation gets quieter but deeper at the same time.
I love that stage of a conversation. I want to talk about habits now, not motivation, habits.
Good choice. Motivation is unreliable. Habits stay.
Exactly. Motivation comes and goes, but habits carry you on boring days.
Daily English conversation only works when it becomes ordinary.
Ordinary in a good way.
Yes, like brushing your teeth. You don't ask yourself if you feel inspired to do it. You just do it.
That's such an unromantic but honest comparison. When English becomes part of your routine, it stops feeling heavy.
It stops being extra work and becomes part of how you move through the day.
I noticed something interesting. When people speak English daily, they stop asking, am I good enough?
Because the question changes
To what?
to, did I communicate what I wanted?
That's such a healthier question. Language isn't about being impressive
It never was. It's about being understood.
and about understanding others. There's also an identity shift that happens.
Yes, that quiet moment when you realize English is no longer foreign.
It becomes another room in your house.
Nicely said.
At first, you knock before entering.
And eventually, you walk in barefoot.
Exactly.
Daily conversation builds that familiarity. You stop translating your personality.
You become yourself, just in another language.
And that's powerful.
I think some learners are afraid they'll lose themselves in English.
In reality, you usually gain perspective.
You see yourself from another angle.
And sometimes you find words for feelings you couldn't express before.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Mine too.
Let's talk honestly about the future for a moment.
All right.
English isn't going away. It's not a trend.
It's a tool that keeps opening doors.
And daily conversation prepares you for opportunities you can't predict yet.
A conversation with a stranger. A message you need to answer quickly. A moment where confidence matters.
You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your habits.
Exactly.
That's why someday I'll practice is risky.
Someday doesn't build reflexes. Today does.
And daily doesn't mean long.
5 minutes, 10 minutes, one honest conversation.
See, simple, human, real. I feel calm now.
Me too. That's a good sign.
Thanks for being part of our little English journey.
Wherever you are, have a wonderful day.
And if you liked this episode, subscribe, leave a like, and share it. It really helps our little studio grow.
And helps us keep the tea warm.
Until next time, keep talking, even when it feels awkward.
Especially then.